Hey there. I'm excited to announce this to you today. This is what you've been waiting for in your spiritual quest. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I'm finally ready to announce it that it's ready to go. It's the Grief to Growth Community Circle. Now, this is a sanctuary where like-minded souls are united in their journey through grief and towards personal transformation. It's more than just a place. It's a beginning. It's a commitment to growth and understanding. Here you're finding not just a community, but you're entering a circle of trust and depth. You're going to engage with interactive coursework. You'll dive into exclusive podcast episodes and partake in discussions that illuminate the path from mourning to empowerment. This is a realm where every question is honored and every individual's journey is validated. To be part of this exclusive circle, visit us at grieftogrowth.com/community or look for the chat icon at the bottom of every page on the main website. Remember that entry is a privilege because I want to ensure that every member is as dedicated and genuine as you are. You must apply to join, but the journey within is worth every step. So go ahead and join us today. Check it out, grieftogrowth.com/community, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Hi there. Welcome to Grief to Growth podcast. Your host is Brian Smith, spiritual seeker, best-selling author, grief survivor, and life coach. Brian believes that the worst tragedies of life provide the greatest opportunity for growth. Brian says he was planted, not buried, and he is here to help you grow where you've been planted by the difficulties in life. In each episode, Brian and his guests will share what has helped them to survive and thrive. It is his sincere hope this episode helps you today.
January 13th, 2020. That's today's date. It's 6:55 a.m. And as I'm sitting here, I think back to 20 years ago, what I was doing. 20 years ago at this time, my wife and I were getting ready to go down to Good Samaritan Hospital here in Cincinnati to welcome our daughter Shayna into the world. Shayna was a challenging child and an interesting child. And I think back when I reflect on it, even before she was born, we had a test, a triple screen for pregnancy, and it came back that Shayna could have a possible birth defect or issue. So we had the triple screen, and we held our breath while we got the results back, which were okay, and we knew that Shayna would be okay. But we knew Shayna would be a girl, and so we had already named her. Kayla was excited about welcoming her in the world. Kayla called her baby Cyst at the time. So we dropped Kayla off and went down to Good Samaritan Hospital, anticipating starting the procedure at about 8 o'clock in the morning and hopefully having a baby by, 10, maybe noon, something like that. But that was not to be the case with Shayna. As always, she did things her way. Shayna was actually born at almost 11 o'clock in the evening. Her heart rate kept dropping during the birth. Every time Tawana would have a contraction, I was a nervous wreck thinking, let's just have a C-section and get this baby out. But Shayna joined us. She came into the world. And I remember the cry that she had when she was born. The nurses at the hospital were saying, you've got your hands full with this one. Just the way she cried was so intense, so demanding. And I didn't realize, I don't follow astrological signs a whole lot, but last night I was co-teaching a grief class, and the instructor and one of the other people on the call had been born in January. Actually, it was someone's birthday yesterday, and they were saying that they were happy to be Capricorns. And I guess a couple of qualities of Capricorns are they're very organized and they're very determined. So if anything defines Shayna, it's those couple of traits. What you see on the screen today, by the way, that's my screensaver. I have two monitors in my office. So when I'm working and if I'm not using one of the monitors, that's what I see. So when I'm recording my podcast, when I'm recording or when I'm doing other work, Shayna's always sitting there right there staring at me. So those are my three reasons for living. My wife, Tawana, my daughter, Shayna, and my daughter, Kayla. I'm here for Tawana on a daily basis. I'm here for Kayla. Kayla's 23 years old now and in grad school. And Shayna is the one that inspires me and walks beside me. So Shayna's birthday is only 3 weeks after Christmas. So a lot of times kids that have birthdays around Christmas kind of complain that their birthdays are forgotten or get caught up in the holidays. But Shayna would have none of that. Shayna was, as Kayla would call her, a birthday diva. Shayna was all about the birthdays and the holidays and giving us a list and telling us the things she wanted. So you were never going to forget Shayna's birthday was coming up. And even today on our calendars, we've got birthday reminders, and Shayna's birthday starts popping up, reminding me that it's coming. So there's no way to forget January 13th is coming up, and it's the time to celebrate Shayna coming to join us. So Shayna would be 20 years old today. And as I think about it, she'd be a sophomore in college. She was 15 when she passed, 15 and a half. She was just a few weeks from getting her temporary driver's permit. And she was very, very excited about that. She would have been starting the high school here, the big building as we called it, the main high school for her sophomore year. So when I think about Shayna, it's sometimes easy to kind of get caught up in where she was. And as I think 5 years later, I can picture her kind of in my rearview mirror, kind of fading into the rearview mirror as I think about how old she would be now and how she would, no longer be in high school, and would she have a boyfriend, and she would be, at Ohio State, hopefully, my alma mater. And what would she have majored in? Would she have become a vet like she wanted to? All these what if questions. So these things can rattle around in our heads, especially on these days. And I try to tell myself that it's just another day. It's just another day on the calendar. But, the reality is, as human beings, we do have these times that we mark and we think and we reflect. And with birthdays, we celebrate. We celebrate the fact that we're here for another year. So when you have a child who is not here for another year and their birthday comes up, how are you supposed to feel? Do you celebrate the day? Do you mourn the day because they're not here? These are difficult questions, difficult things to ponder. And I think we can kind of choose the way we look at it. And we go back and forth, and we're human, and we're going to have those feelings of regret and those feelings of what if. But we also need to balance that, I guess, with another point of view, which I'll get into a few minutes. The other thing about the day, it's interesting. There's a group of girls that Shayna was really close with, and they've since Shayna passed, are calling themselves the SHAYNA'S 6. And these are 6 girls that she met at Lakota West. They were all really great students, great kids, really active in the community. And every year, it's been 5 years now, but every year for Shayna's birthday or her angel date, they come over and sit around the table with Tawana and Kayla and sometimes myself and just talk about Shayna and the experiences they had with her, but also where they are today. And it's interesting because these girls were only 15 when Shayna passed, and they're all young women now in their 20s. They're all sophomores in college. And because they'll have different schedules now, going to different colleges, boyfriends, jobs, etc. This year, only 3 of them could come, but 3 of them came yesterday, and we really appreciate them still, remembering Shayna and honoring Shayna and telling stories about how Shayna is still a part of their life. And I'm so proud of Shayna's legacy. But when this happens, I can go to this word, if. And I think if is one of the most terrible words in the English language, because there really is no if. We think about what if this had happened, or what if that had happened. And I could think, again, Shayna would be at Ohio State, or Shayna, would she have majored in veterinary medicine? Would she, have a boyfriend? Would she? But there really only is what is. Whatever is, this is my personal belief, whatever is what's meant to be. And when I go down the road of what if, I always think about all the great things. But I don't think about what if Shayna had a terrible condition of rheumatoid arthritis, and her numbers were kind of off the chart. It was under control with medication, but what if the medication had stopped working? Or what if she got one of the side effects of this medications, which could be things as terrible as cancer? So when I think about the what ifs, I don't typically play out both sides of that scenario. I just think about how happy things would be if Shayna were here. But the thing is, Shayna physically is not with me. And this reminds me that someone asked me to make a recording about what my relationship with Shayna is like. I know I talk about her all the time. And I want to kind of clarify what my relationship with Shayna is like. I do still have a relationship with Shayna. I think about her literally every day. She is the motivation. She's the reason why you're hearing my voice right now. She's the motivation for a lot of things I do in my life. As I said, I've got 3 people that I'm kind of feel like I report to, even still. Tawana, I'm here for. We still have our partnership, our marriage of, we've been together for over 30 years, but we'll be married 30 years this year. Kayla's still somewhat dependent on me, and she calls herself a baby adult. And I'm glad that she's still, really involved in our family. We just got back from Nashville for a couple of days after Christmas, and I'm really proud that my 23-year-old daughter wanted to go with my wife and myself. But Shayna is still a big, big part of my life. I get up every morning. I have a picture of her outside my bedroom door, and I say good morning to her in the morning. I say good night to her every night, the last thing before I go to bed. But I do miss the physical relationship with Shayna. I sometimes struggle to remember what was her voice like. I would love to hug her again. Shayna was 15 years old, and I would still carry her. I was telling someone yesterday, I used to say to Shayna, I don't think you ever fully incarnated, Shayna. You never really understood the rules of being on Earth. We have this thing here called gravity. So you have to get up and walk. You have to sit up straight, because when Shayna would sit next to you, she would just slump over and put her full body weight on you. She liked to be carried. She loved to just eat sweets all the time. Shayna lived life just like full out, full blast. She was curious about everything. She wanted to know what it was like to have a broken leg. She wanted to know what it was like to have blood drawn. Shayna she just lived everything full out. So I think that I'm really happy when I think about Shayna and what she was like here when she was in the physical. But her relationship with me now is still my motivating factor. She was always pushing me when she was here. She was always challenging me. We would play video games together, and she's still doing those things, and she's still with me, and we still have that great relationship. Now, I don't have the type of relationship. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday, and he was telling about some spiritually transformative experiences he had, starting with this experience in meditation where he was flying with his guides and saw heaven and all this kind of stuff. And since then, he's done some facilitated after-death communications where he's met his mother-in-law and physically hugged her and stuff like that. So I think sometimes when I talk about my relationship with Shayna, people think that I have that type of relationship, that we're still, have that kind of connection. And I want to be clear, it's not like that. She motivates me, she inspires me, she guides me, she does send me messages through mediums and through other people, but I miss her tremendously. And when I think about, again, that 15-year-old girl kind of, fading into the rearview mirror, what I have to do is remind myself that Shayna is still with me, that I still have a relationship with her. And I know that, and I know she's here right now. I know she's here looking over my shoulder. Everybody tells me, Shayna's always right over your right shoulder. I can walk into a room with intuitives, and they'll say, there's this little girl that's with you all the time. And I believe that. She still sends me signs. She sends me signs all the time. As a matter of fact, I was feeling a little bit down last night, and I was telling Shayna that you need to send us a sign to the day on your birthday. And I said, especially, to your sister, who they are very, very close. And I was reminded, it's like, okay, Shayna sends me signs electronically a lot of times through the computer or through my phone or something. Well, a couple of days ago, I walked in the bedroom and our Alexa or Echo Spot wasn't working. The sound wasn't working. And I tried everything I could to get the sound working. I tried all the settings, made sure it wasn't connected to the Bluetooth speaker, all those things. And it just wasn't working. So I unplugged it, plugged it back in, the sound started working. I have no explanation for why that happened. Last night, the night before Shayna's birthday, I go into the bedroom and I ask Alexa to turn on the bedroom lights, and the bedroom lights aren't responding. So again, I go through my whole troubleshooting routine, cannot figure out what the problem is. Ty walks in, says, "What are you doing?" She does a couple of things, and next thing we know, the lights are back on. So what I was reminded when I asked Shayna for a sign, she's like, "Daddy, you got your sign. I was the one that made the Alexa not work." And by the way, she does a lot of signs where she makes things not work. I'm not really happy with that. But I did get my sign from Shayna. And today, on her birthday, we'll honor her and remember her. and I will know that she's still with me. And I'll try to think of things like that as opposed to, what I don't have and how long it's been since I've seen her. So what I like to do on days like today is reflect on, again, instead of thinking about, the negative aspect of what I'm missing, is I want to think about how far I've come and how far Tawana's come and how far Kayla has come since Shayna's passing. Kayla was inspired to change majors, and Kayla was a sophomore or freshman, I should say, between her freshman and sophomore year in college when Shayna passed. And I'm really proud of Kayla. I am so proud of Kayla. She is in mental health counseling now. She works with children. She's in grad school. She is a compassionate, caring, strong person. I think maybe even more compassionate, if possible, by the passing of Shayna. I think about Tawana and how far she's come and how she's grown spiritually and in wisdom. And I see the things that she's doing. And I think about, 5 years out that we're still here and we're still doing these things. And again, to reiterate, with me, I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for Shayna. You would not be hearing my voice. And I think this is what I was meant to do. Now, again, from the perspective of being human, do I want Shayna back here? Absolutely. Would I give anything to have Shayna back here? Absolutely, I would. But on the other hand, I know that this life, no matter how long it is, whether it's 70, 80, 90, 100 years, is not that long. And I think about what's best for Shayna. Shayna had her own soul plan. We each come here with our own plan. And while I would like for her to have been there for 15 years, I believe with all my heart that that was Shayna's plan. And I have to think about, when you're a parent, what's the best thing for your children? What would make them happiest? And this kind of goes back to a video I just recorded a couple of days ago about the people having choice when they cross over. And I've heard from a couple of people that when Shayna did cross, that at first she thought it was a dream. But she's also told us that this was meant to be. And I was talking with the parent, and she was saying that I know if my son had had the choice to come back, he would have chosen to come back. He would have chosen to be with me. I'm not so confident of that when it comes to Shayna. Shayna was always running ahead. Shayna was always on to the next thing. So the vision I have of Shayna and our family is we're walking down the road, the four of us hand in hand, and Shayna has run ahead. And Shayna is waiting to where we're going to be. And I'm reminded of the week before Shayna passed, she was at a volleyball tournament with her mother. She was down in Florida. We live in Ohio. So she's in Florida. She's at this resort. The kids are driving around in golf carts. She's drinking like $5 smoothies every day. She's ordering oysters on the half shell when she's out at dinner with her mother because her mother's a pushover, and just having the time of her life. And Kayla and I are back here, and Kayla and I are, we're watching movies. We're having what we call Brian Kayla Week, and we're having a good time. But Shayna didn't call us one time. And I remember Ty talking to her and saying, no, don't you feel guilty? Don't you miss, Brian and Kayla? You're here having a great time with your friends. Aren't you worried about what they're doing back home? And Shayna's like, no, I'm having a good time here. I'm sure they're going to be okay. I'll see them when I get home. And I truly believe that when Shayna crossed over to the side, she took a look around. She was in wonder. She was in awe because that's the way she was about things even here. And Shayna said, they're going to be okay. They're having a good time. I'm going to have a good time, and I'll see them when they get here. So that's the way that I get by. That's the way I choose to look at days like today, that Shayna is, one part of her is home. One part of her is still here with me. And I want what's best for her, and I choose to be happy on this day and to be happy for the 15 years that I did have her here, and to cherish those memories and to use her memory and her presence to guide me forward. So those are my reflections on Shayna on January 13th, 2020, the day that my baby would be 20 years old if she was here, and is wherever she is in spirit, but I know here with me also. And I want to say I love you, Shayna. I love you, Tawana. I love you, Kayla. And I'm glad that we chose to do this together. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Grief to Growth. Brian hopes that you find this episode helpful and will come back for future episodes. Brian's best-selling book, Grief to Growth, Planted Not Buried, is a great resource for anyone who is coping with grief or knows someone who is. If you enjoy the podcast and would like to support it, there are 3 things you can do to help. The first is to share the podcast with someone that you think it will help. The second is to go to iTunes, rate, and review the episode. The third way you can support the podcast is by becoming a patron. Head over to www.patreon.com/grief2growth. That's patreon.com/grief, the number 2, growth, and sign up to make a small monthly donation. Patrons get access to exclusive bonus content and knowledge that you are helping to spread the message of grief to growth. For more about Brian and Grief to Growth, visit www.grief2growth.com.
Hi there. I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the podcast, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What questions came up for you? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? I invite you to visit us at grieftogrowth.circle.so. That's grief, the number 2, growth.circle.so to continue the conversation with me and with other listeners. It's a space to sound off, to share reactions, and to go deeper into the topics from the show. I look forward to chatting more, and I hope to see you there.